I once played poker for 4 hours straight and only won 2 times. In the end, I left the table with 3 times the amount of money I had when I sat down to play. After this incident, I realized a very important thought that still helps me win money and feel more confident at the poker table. I will tell you about this realization now. When I was an aspiring player, I envied the guys who were winning regularly at the poker table. They would win many times in an evening, and I was under the illusion that that was how poker should be played. I always wanted to be like them, to win regularly, to have a good combination of cards all the time. I don't know why, but that's the way I thought. I thought that a poker player should be like that, namely bright and charismatic. Such guys lost all my money, but I did not pay much attention to it, because charisma still won. I have always had enough charisma. I have long been fond of tricks with cards, played various games, could beautifully shuffle cards in several ways, but I could not win money. It just annoyed me, and those rare cases when I won, I was not impressed. I remember a time when I was playing cards in a group of people with one guy who was winning at blackjack all the time. He was just lucky, it was like the right cards were falling into his hands. The other guys even resented him because he was just lucky all the time. He shuffled the cards modestly, without any fancy moves or showmanship. Something unusual he knew and apparently knew how to use it. After that incident I started to think, what do I sit down to play poker for? What do I want to get out of it? If I want to be flamboyant and charismatic, if I want to be noticeable, I can do that without any problem, but that doesn't mean I'm going to win at poker. It doesn't mean I'm going to go home with double the amount of money. Yes, I will be bright, visible, fun, but a loser. Do I want that? Of course not, I didn't want that. So what did I want? I wanted to have more money in my pocket at the end of the game than I had when I started playing. Preferably twice as much, at least. Gradually I began to realize that playing beautifully and brightly is one option. Constantly winning and increasing the capital is another option. But to play brightly and beautifully and win is the third option. I still think that the third option is the domain of professionals. I have yet to go this way, but the second option suits me quite well, it is the most preferable. Yes, this second option does not imply that you will be a bright and noticeable player. Most likely, you will sit and play quietly, without being notable for anything. Of course you can communicate, joking with other players, but not be the center of attention. But when you leave the table with a sum of money, more than you had initially, then you will be noticed as a winner. As the soccer players say, it doesn't matter how you play, bad or good, the score is on the scoreboard. As I said before, I have seen bright players at the table, they often play all in, put everything at stake, take risks, bluff. But in the end, most of these players lose. It's like traders on the stock market who actively speculate on stocks and end up losing all their money, although they may hit the jackpot. They're bright, but they're poor, that's the bottom line for them. There is one guy in one of my poker companies, he often organizes the games, he brings a poker set, chips, cloth, is always active, but he is usually the first one out of the game and loses all his money. So what did I realize after the incident I mentioned at the beginning of the video? I realized that in order to win at poker you don't have to win at poker all the time, regularly and often. You can win just twice, but you can win a lot of money at once. Win so that you can get up from the table, take your winnings and leave. This seemingly simple thought struck me. It sounds simple, clear and unremarkable, but how much it works. After this case, I stopped chasing the number of wins. I just began to sit patiently in the ambush, like an experienced hunter, and wait for the right moment, in order to immediately pick up the prize. And when that moment comes, I try to make the most of it. As a rule, I have a combination of cards in my hand. Usually I act with at least 2 pairs. Very rarely do I play with a high-stakes hand with a pair or a high card. I do play with a weak hand, but only if the stakes are small and it is acceptable for me to lose. So, when I wait for the right moment, I make my opponent bet as much money as possible. At the pre-flop stage, don't raise much, just to avoid spooking my opponents. It's to my advantage to keep as many people in the game as possible and bet as much money as possible. I'm even quietly pleased when someone starts raising the stakes before me. I also do the same thing at the flop stage of the round when there are already 3 cards on the table. I don't get too cocky on this round either, so that my opponents bet more money. But on the turn and river rounds I start to actively raise my bets. The opponents are sorry to discard cards, because they have already bet a sum of money on the previous 2 rounds, and as you know, you do not want to lose your investment. That's why I often see opponents stay in the game just to avoid discarding cards because they are already invested in the game. That's exactly what I need. On the last round of river I often bet the biggest bets. And then when there's already a substantial pot on the table, we showdown. That's how I multiply my money. Yes, sometimes I lose, but most of the time I win and my winnings outweigh my losses. Another very important thought that I want you to internalize. It's important to realize what you're going to spend your winnings on. In the case I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I really wanted to buy myself shooting glasses and headphones. I knew roughly how much money I needed. I won almost that amount of money and spent it on exactly what I planned to spend it on, headphones and goggles for shooting practice. Now we come to the most important part of this video. You need to honestly answer a question to yourself. The question is, what do I play poker for? What do I want to get out of the game? Answer honestly. It can be the most unexpected answers that you don't have to show anyone. It is important for you to be honest with yourself. Why do you play? If for you poker is like me one of the options to make money sometimes, then so and answer yourself, admit it to yourself. Yes, I sometimes make money playing poker. Maybe for you it's a way to find new company or a way to meet interesting people, admit it to yourself. Maybe for someone else it's a way to improve their self-esteem or show people their other talents. The answer can be anything, the important thing is that it is an honest answer. If your answer is to be a bright and visible player, but you don't care so much about winning, then this option also has its right to exist. Every player has their own reason to play poker, and you are no exception.